you so much.
Welcome everyone to Camp Jitterbug in our first lecture. We're here to talk about the Savoy Ballroom with Chester Whitmore.
And the one and only legendary Sugar!
We have another guest that is running a little bit late. Denise will be here in a little bit, but we wanted to get started so we can get this party started. So I actually had some questions that I was hoping that you guys could answer for me. So we're talking about the Savoy Ballroom, opened in 1926. Check. Where you at? Who was you? I thought I was talking to you. She said you need all the attention. Okay, can we get Sugar the attention?
We can.
Because she's looking beautiful today.
She knows it's Savoy. Because Sugar lived it, she danced it, and she's now here to carry on the tradition that all of you guys are here at the Camp Jitterbug right here. And you really gotta know that you guys, this is really the first event in the United States that we're back after COVID. So give yourself a round of applause. You know, and so I know it feels good to be back out here and, you know, seeing your friends, getting out there, getting ready to really dance and get some good music and everything. But Sugar, you know what I'm saying? Sugar, you know that is, Sugar didn't read the mic. No. Sugar, tell us about the atmosphere of the Savoy Ballroom.
Okay, all right, the atmosphere. It was nothing but joy, plenty of joy, you know, happiness, musical, lots of music, lots of dancing, everybody friendly, you know, and it was just great. That's what it was. It was great. Anybody was everybody, okay? There was nobody that was standing out any greater than anybody else. The Duke of Windsor could be up there, and it didn't make a difference, you know. The important thing is, could they dance? That was the important thing. And you had to be able to dance, you know. And we didn't do nothing but have fun every night. We had fun, plenty of fun. From 10 to say 3 in the morning. Continuous music played continuously. Yes, the bandstand was big enough to accommodate 2 full-size orchestras at the same time. So the music never stopped. The music was continuous from the time it started at 10 o'clock until we closed down at 3. That's what we did every night.
Yeah, Sugar, I want you to, I know we talked about this yesterday, but I was so shocked by how you illustrated the bandstand and how a band would join the band that was playing and continue at the same time. Tell us about that again.
Yes, well, a band would be playing a song, and when they got ready for their break, you know, they had time set with each other, you know, when they took their break. So on the last song that the band was getting ready to take a break, the other band would come and join that same song, and they would continue the music in that song, and they would play another few bars together, and then the first band would go on their break, and the other band would continue the song for a few more bars, you know, and then they would go into another song. That's why the music never stopped. The music never stopped. And the bandstand was big enough to accommodate both orchestras at the same time. Yeah.
So, Can you tell me why the Savoy Ballroom is so important to you? I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there who don't have enough information on what the Savoy Ballroom is and why it's important to not just Black history, but American history. Can you tell me specifically why it's important to you?
Well, that's where Lindy Hop was born. Lindy Hop was born in the Savoy Ballroom by a group of teenagers, which they were at that time, 17, 18, 19 years old, you know, and the bands came in and started playing this swing type music. And the dancer says, what are they playing? We gotta put something to that music. And they started doing these different steps. They went from the two-step and the Charleston to this different rhythm to pick up that music, something to go with that music. They had to do dance steps to internet with that music, and they came up with the Lindy Hop. They didn't give it a name; they just did it. And then one night there was a dance contest, and somebody asked somebody else, "What are they doing?" And somebody thought about, hey, they said Lindbergh hop the Atlantic. Okay, let's call this Lindy Hop. And that's how it was born. That's how Lindy Hop was born.
Yeah. The dancers, what level of dancers there were in the Savoy Ballroom? Were there beginners, intermediate, advanced?
All of it. You got there, you might have been a beginner. But if you came with a couple of acts, by the end of the week, I'm sure you were probably almost advanced, you know. If you came tonight like we did, you were there every night. So yes, but you know, it didn't matter, you know, as long as you joined in. And the more you came, the better you got. The more you did the dance, the better you got, you know. And that's what we did, yeah.
A lot of the dancers.
All right.
No, I wanted to ask you, all the dancers that were in the Savoy Ballroom, this is true, it was one of the first integrated ballrooms out there, that everybody was there dancing. Did you ever get a chance to flow and work with that Frankie Manning?
Yes, I did. When I first started going to the Savoy, Frankie they were out entertaining at that time. So once in a while, some of the guys would come up like Frankie and Leon James and Al Mims, you know. They would come up on a Monday night, because most of the time if they were entertaining someplace, they got Monday night off. Seemed like most places they closed on Monday nights, and they would come up on and we would be in the circle, and I would try to get right into the circle, you know, hoping that eventually somebody's gonna grab me out in the circle, in the center of the circle, and it wouldn't happen. It would happen. And I danced with Frankie a few times. I danced with Leon James, I danced with Al Mims. Oh yes, I did, yeah.
So, as a newer dancer than maybe Frankie or Al, did they ever give you any sort of pointers or any coaching at the Savoy Ballroom?
No, not at that time. No, you know, they grabbed you and you know, you tried to keep up with them, and that was it. You know, we had no time for no pointers, not then, because it was one girl after another. You know, one guy would grab me, and before I know it, spin around and somebody else would grab me. So you didn't have no time for no pointers, not at that time. No, not at that time.
So who were some of the follows that you admired at that time? Who were some of those follows in the Savoy Ballroom that you really enjoyed watching?
Well, there was well, I told you Al Mims and Leon James and Frankie, and also Blue Outlaw. Candy Carter. Because when I went up to the Harvest, when I went up to Savoy, they had recently won the Harvest Moon Ball, Candy Carter and Blue Apple. They were recent winners of the Lindy Hop, first place Lindy Hop. And I admired them, and they worked with me quite a bit when I first started. The guys taught me more than the girls did, you know. Most girly things I got on my own. But I learned the skills from the guys, you know. They were the ones that had the skills, and that's who I learned from. And there was one girl I liked her dancing, her footwork. Her name was, her last name was Washington. And I used to like to watch her because she had good footwork. But most of the time, the guys, I got all my skills from the guys.
The follow Washington, yeah. I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness.
You want your
That's Washington. My goodness, how can I forget her name? She's one of my favorite ones from the back.
We gonna come back to that question because
maybe her name will come.
Yeah, Andre go try to look it up right now, I'm sure. I did have another question though. So the Savoy Ballroom was open for over 30 years and had like the hottest bands play in it. What were your favorite bands that you got to dance to?
Oh, Buddy Johnson was a house band, and he was very good. He was great, in fact. And of course, you know, you got Count Basie and Duke and Lionel Hampton, you know, and Love the Hamp, you know. Let me see, who else can I say? Cootie Williams. Cootie Williams, you know, was great. And he used to have a big band when he used to come to the Savoy, Cootie Williams. In the 1055, and he used to come to the Savoy with a big band. Let's see, who else can I think of? I said Buddy. Erskine Hawkins. Erskine Hawkins, yeah. There's another one. Oh yeah, yeah. And of course the Count. Count was my favorite.
A lot of bands with that did the Sweethearts and Rhythm ever got a chance to go to the Savoy?
That was before my time.
Okay.
I think they did play the Savoy, but that was before my time.
So, Sugar, was it Esther Washington? Was it Esther Washington?
Esther Washington, that's right, yeah.
Looks like she has a couple of videos with Leon James, so that was probably Esther.
Right,
Okay.
yes. Miss did, yeah. We didn't see too many of the girls. They didn't come up that much, you know. And she came up a few times, but most of them from the that was in that like House of Poppin', the girls didn't come up, but the guys would come up, you know, when they had a chance, when they wasn't working. But the girls, they hardly ever would come up. They wouldn't come up too often. And Esther was about the only one that used to come up once in a while. Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to the integration part, just to kind of cover some bases. What was it like being a black woman, being integrated, being one of the first ballrooms, and having that opportunity to dance in a different environment?
I'm a black woman? Oh yeah, that's right. We didn't know anything about that in Savoy. That's what I'm trying to show you. We didn't know anything about what color you were, okay? That was never shown. Never, ever. Everybody danced with everybody and anybody, you know? Yep.
That's what I think people need to hear now.
Oh, definitely, yes. Like I said, you had the Duke of Windsor dancing with the housemaid that works out in Brooklyn, you know. That's the way it went. Anybody danced with anybody. There was no segregation there at all.
Now, yesterday he told us, I want to know how hard it is to get a dance partner. Was it very hard for you? Now you told us about you had a lot of partners. I'm not going to get there. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm going to be good.
Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. Respect your elders because I am one. Watch your mouth. Well, you know, every year you were trying to find perfection in your partner, you know? So you would change partners because when you keep putting those routines together, you know, and you're trying to win the Harvest Moon Award, which we all were trying to do, because when you won first place in Lindy Hop in the Harvest Moon Award, you became a professional dancer. So everybody wanted that. Everybody wanted that. So when you were trying to find that special one, you would try different ones each year. If one didn't give you what you think you should get, you know, when you're doing those contests, you know, and you get down Madison Square Garden, that's where it throws the tail. Okay, your partner might make it through the preliminaries, but can they face Madison Square Garden, where all those people are looking at you, and you got all this competition staring you in the face? Now, if your partner can't stand up to that, then you got to get you another one for next year. You got to get you another one. Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the spirit of competition. You've talked about competition a little bit yesterday, and today we're talking about the changing of partners. But what would you say is the sort of spirit of competition? Were there rivalries? Was there always the couple to beat? Or was it mostly just an opportunity to show off what you guys can do and everyone went home happy?
It wasn't like rivalry, no. You know, we were, Savoy was my second family. That was my second family, my second home, you know? We were like a family. We would be up there in the daytime and we would be practicing, trying to improve our steps, you know, and add new things. And then at night we would go up there have a good time and show what we accomplished that day, you know. And then we would get together. We would get together and do potluck things, you know. Every day after we practice say from like maybe 10, 11 to like 3 in the afternoon. Then we all get together and we put some money together, go to somebody's house, make a pot, baby, make a pot. Everybody get full for the night. So we have something in our stomachs to dance on, you know. And that's what we would do. Most of the time it was my house too, when we got together with those potluck statements, you know. But that was great.
So I'd just like to welcome.
Hi, Denise, how you doing? Hi, baby. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yes. But I am here. Here I am. I'm here. Yes, I love yours too. That's new. Okay, I love it. Oh, yeah. Denise got blonde, honey. I love it. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, okay. That's good.
Hello, everybody. I'm sorry for being late.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Denise Minshouse. I'm Al Min's daughter. I love doing this stuff. And let's talk. What are we talking about? Oh, the Savoy. loved the Savoy. Do you guys know the story of how he got in there?
Oh, tell us.
My father was a very, my dad always looked at what was the status quo and decided what worked for him and what didn't. And if it didn't work for him, he didn't give a damn. And that's just the way he lived his life, and that's the way he raised his kids. At any rate, so the Savoy, first of all, there was a section of the Savoy where only the top Lindy Hop dancers were supposed to dance. And Leon James, who later became his partner, and in some ways his mentor, you might say, Leon James was the king of that circle. He would sit there and anoint people and get up and dance and scare everybody, and then he'd sit back down and anoint people as they belonged. But you had to be invited by Leon to come in that circle. Well, my dad, he was 18, and he thought he had some business in that circle. So he goes into the Savoy, because you know how bold he was. So he goes into the Savoy, gets in the circle, and starts dancing. And the people are like, oh my God, let's get rid of him. But Leon saw something in him. And he's like, no, let that youngster dance. And that's how my father got into the Savoy and ultimately he became a part of Wiley's Lindy Hoppers. Because he was bold and didn't give a damn about the status quo. You know, I mean, when he married my mother, her family were Holocaust survivors from Poland, and he found someone just like him. They're trying to rebuild the Jewish nation, and she goes and marries the blackest man she can find in Holland.
Boy.
Yeah. Say that again, Chip.
Yeah. That was great.
And she was the same way. I mean, she didn't care. She was very clear about what was it about the status quo that worked for her. And I think to some degree, particularly the dancers of that era. I once mentioned to Norma, Chester and I were at Norma's birthday party at Debbie Allen's house in Los Angeles. And I worked with Debbie the first 15 years of her dance academy. And we were there, and I said, Norma, you know, there's a lot of undercurrent going on among, you know, the black community and the Lindy community and rada, and, you know, where are you at with this? And I said, because I told them, ain't nobody gonna bite the hand that feeds them, number one. But number two, she said something that stunned me. She said, racism created the Lindy Hop. And then someone told Mauricio, everybody from Italy, I think, was at Debbie's house that night. Norma had her whole Italian entourage with her. And someone told them, Alman's daughter's over there talking to Norma. So they come and grab me, you're Alman's daughter, and next thing I know, I'm doing pictures for like an hour. Me, okay, it was lovely. I had a good time. But, and I said to myself, I'll get back to Norma about this when I see her for her birthday in New York. Well, as you know, she passed. So that sent me into this thing, trying to understand, trying to figure out what the hell is she talking about. And I went back, because the first time I saw Hells Pop, when I was sitting next to my dad, watching TV in New York. You know, he had to convince me that was him. Because he wasn't that cute then. But anyway, so I had to really give it a lot of thought, like, what are they talking about? What was she talking about? And you know, when you watch House of Pop, because I went back and I started watching it a lot, and I picked up, everybody in that scene is a laborer. They're maids.
Right.
They're cooks.
Yeah.
They're Frankie had on overalls.
Right, yeah.
Wasn't nobody in there with a stethoscope around their neck,
No.
you know? And then I remember sugar stories about did you tell a story about stealing the sheets at the hotel to make the costumes? Sugar.
No.
That's what they used to do.
Yeah.
And so it was this life they were living at a time of severe oppression. But this was the one thing they could do that could nobody mess with them. So when you see that passion and that abandonment, they're not worried about are their knees bent enough and is their back over enough and a lot of the codifying stuff I see now, no offense if you're into it. But they were releasing and they were celebrating life. And they were celebrating, I made it one more day. Am I telling the truth, Sugar?
Oh, yes. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
And you know, when I talk about this art, because it's it's jazz, it's gospel,
Right.
it's black. And I'm not gonna act like it's not. And it's okay to celebrate it because it's that wonderful.
Yes.
You know, and it's that beautiful. And I remember when I was in Huang, the first time, and I was like, everybody's dancing. I'm like, what is this? What are they doing? And they knew they was hitting it. And the first time I talked, I said, you know what? At Huang, who's been to Huang in this room? Okay, well, Huang is the thing in Sweden. And they have all these different rooms that are named after great Lindy Hop ballrooms. And I said, y'all need to add a room called the Balls Room, B-A-L-L-S, where you guys get out there and start creating something new. You've studied the YouTube long enough. Do something different. You know, I'm kind of excited with what Natasha and them are doing. It's a little different. It's kind of exciting, you know. And so I'm gonna be here this weekend watching. I might even dance a little, I don't know. But I'm giving the mic back now.
Well, I think that was the first, I don't know if you recognize what just happened. We just had a black church moment where someone says something and everyone feels it so deeply inside of them that they'll, that growl came out of you. Where she said, let's do something different. And I think that's so true, right? We're so attached to the YouTube videos and watching our favorite instructors and performers, but what if we did something new? And along those same lines, this is such a celebration of life. The dance itself is a celebration of life. The Savoy Ballroom, Sugar said that she went there every day of the week. Every day of the week she was in the ballroom. And that idea that this is a place where you can go to escape all the other things that are happening in your life. This is where you can be most yourself. Let's celebrate life this weekend, right? Let's celebrate life this weekend, right? This is the first time I've been outside in 2 years. I'm gonna celebrate life. You might see a nipple this weekend. Okay? All right. I'm sorry, I had a moment. Thank you for saying that.
Any questions? The ladies. He's so politically correct.
I do want to ask more questions about that sort of daily schedule. If you made the Savoy Ballroom, Sugar, a part of your daily life, you were there, gotta be at least 4 days a week, 4 nights a week. And at the time you were raising a family.
I was there 7, okay? Wasn't no 4 or 5. No, it was 7. I'm telling you.
So tell me what the average Tuesday was for you, and then how, like, what was your day like That
Okay.
left you a little bit of
Okay.
time for dancing.
Okay, Tuesday, okay, I get up, give my children, I go to Savoy, we practice till about 2 in the afternoon, go home, put on a pot, feed my kids, get them ready for bed, you know, my mama come home from work, we have dinner, you know, take a shower, get dressed, get ready to go to Savoy, put my kids to bed, I lay down with my son, who don't want to go to sleep until the TV goes off at night, which is like 12, 1 o'clock, you know. So I have to lay down, put the lights out, start patting him on his back. Now Cheryl is asleep, my daughter, she's gone to sleep, man. Once her belly's full, you know, and she put on her night clothes, she's gone to sleep. But Jay, he gonna lay there, mama, you know. I gotta put the lights out and pat him to sleep. Pat him to sleep, you know. And when he gets quiet, I sneak out the back door. We had a front and a back door, so we lived on the back. And I sneak out the back door and I break for the stoop. You know, jump off the stoop and hit it to the corner. And I know mama was coming out and calling me, shut up! Because that's what that's me, okay? So I break to the bus, you know, and get to Savoy. And I'm there. I get there, and I'm there till they close at 3 in the morning. My husband would come pick me up. He would come and pick me up every night. He'd come pick me up. He didn't care much for dancing at first. For years, he didn't bother with it, you know, until I had an accident. But that's what I would do, and I'd go to the Savoy, and my husband would come up, and he'd like to dance the slow music, which we call ballroom at the time. And he was very good at that. Because he was very smooth dancer, but he didn't care for Lindy Hop, you know. So then when they closed, we go home. That was my daily day, every day.
7 days a week.
Now some nights it was the Savoy was closed to the public because organizations would have their dances, you know, like. Some of the sororities would have dances at the Savoy, you know, and those nights, Mr. Buchanan, which was the manager of the Savoy, the head of Savoy, he would pick couples to put on a show. They would entertain the sororities or whoever was having the dance. They would do a show for them, you know, and a lot of times I was in the show, you know, and he would pay us. He picked 3 couples or 4 couples, and we would do a show that night, you know. So I said I was there 7 days a week. For one reason or another, I was there. Oh, yeah.
And Denise, do you remember your father getting ready to go out dancing, what that was like?
When I was growing up, my father at that point was on the road a lot. Like, my friends parents got up, took their lunch bag, went to work. My dad took his suitcase and went to Nigeria. So, yeah, when I was little, he was doing Nigeria, he was doing Europe, he was doing South America. But I wanted Sugar to talk about, and I'll come back to that, but while we talk about Savoy, Sugar, tell them about physically, the 3 floors and the way they bounced and gave. Talk about the floors.
The levels of the dance floor. I don't know the specifics of it, but there was like 2 or 3 different levels of the dance floor. And when the music was high and everybody was dancing, they said that the floor would bounce. You could not physically feel it. You could not physically feel it, but they said it had to be made that way to accommodate the crowd and the spaciousness of this dance floor. Because the Savoy was a block wide, okay? It was a block wide. It went from 140th to 141st Street. And that's how long Savoy Ballroom was. And the floor was made to accommodate that spaciousness and all of that weight on that dance floor. Because it was full of people at every dance. It was full of people.
And,
Yeah.
and another thing, I remember my dad telling me about this. Those floors were sprung, so that
Right.
people weren't getting shin splints and injuries because they do all that jumping and leaping. So that was some amazing technology to be made available in Harlem at that time. It's always stunned me that happened.
That was the one day that was made that way. That was the only ballroom that was made that way, from my understanding. Yeah.
And the other thing my dad told me about the Savoy was that the dancers auditioned the bands. The dancers determined what bands came in. He said the first time Duke Ellington came to the Savoy, the dancers booed him out. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Count Basie, he always owned the Savoy. To my dad's dying day, that was his favorite band. But then Duke got it together and came back, and he won them all.
Oh, yeah.
But the first time he came, my dad said, they were like, who is this? Get him out of here.
Yes. Yes.
That was another unique thing about the Savoy. The dancers determined the bands. The bands had to be able to play for the dancers, not the dancers power the band, which was pretty interesting to me.
I once went to Carnegie Hall to see Count play. It was a concert. A bunch of us went. We going to see Count tonight. So now we're not going to sit down in those seats while Count is up there playing. Okay? We got in the aisles and we started dancing, and he stopped the band. He said, "Stop, stop!" And everybody, well, what's going on? He said, "I want those dancers on my stage with me." We went up on the stage and danced with Count. You know? Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. We could not sit in those seats and just listen to him play. No way. No way.
If you're gonna dance, I think every Lindy Hopper one time have to experience Count Basie.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's why in the jazz history books they ever say, who is the most #1 master rhythm section of all the bands? And the All-American rhythm section is Count Basie's band. Because no matter what tempo they play, they're gonna lock in. If it's this way, like Little Darling, da, yeah, da, 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 they're gonna stay there. Or and your album music, you gotta dance it. He was always the one of the favorite. And then like you said, Buddy Johnson was the other one. Was it Fletcher Henderson, of course.
Yes, Fletcher, right, yeah.
He was the headman that started it all because of Chick Webb. It was at that time it was the house band, and what everybody said during the Savoy, one of the greatest nights was with Benny Goodman versus Chick Webb. You know, they both, and it was interesting because they all had to say, oh, the King of Swing versus the Swing Kings. You know, who was the king? They didn't know. So that was
Battle of Bands. Yeah, because we love when they had Battle of the Bands.
That was a battle. And because the unique thing about it, when Benny Goodman plays, and you know what made him very famous was because the arrangements was Fletcher Henderson. And whenever, like you said, when he would play it, before they end, Chick Webb would play the same song because his arranger was Fletcher Henderson. So, you know, and like I said, Basie was one of the main cast. I mean, what was the night when Chick made the he pissed off all the Lindy Hoppers, and they said, we're not going to dance to his music tonight. They went on strike. They went on strike to Chick Webb. Yeah. Frankie and Norma, none of them said, we're not going to dance to his music. He pissed us off.
He did.
I wasn't there. What is it? I was there. You think I'm a gossip? You know? Why is he here? I ain't going to tell you. But anyhow, that he pissed him off. So whenever chick would play the music, the dancer would go to the side and just sit. So the floor was just bare. And then with Count Basie play, everybody. That's terrible, I know. So, like you said, the dancers control the back.
Okay, we got a little bit of time for questions. If anybody has any questions, just go ahead and raise your hand because we got a hand over there.
Why did the Savoy Ballroom shut down?
Why? The question was, thank you. You're so kind. The question was, why did the Savoy Ballroom shut down?
Why did the what? Shut down. Okay. 1958, that's when it shut down. We were told, I was there, we were told, it wasn't a sad night because it wasn't put to us that way. They said that they were going to build a bigger and better ballroom. That was what they had promised us. So it wasn't that there wouldn't be a Savoy Ballroom. We were told that they would build a bigger and better ballroom. So it wasn't a sad night. Everybody was happy, you know, and we're looking forward to this new ballroom they're going to build. Well, they didn't. It ended up being housing. That's what they built, housing. There was no more Savoy Ballroom. And we were packed that night. I mean, it was packed to the gills. And we all had a great time. But that was the end of it. That was it. I was there, and that was it. Yeah.
Thank you, Sherry.
Housing, that's what they did. In 1982, I got a phone call. From a gentleman, and he said that he was a producer at NBC TV. I said, okay. And he said, I'd like to be your manager. I says, that sounds good, but manager of what? He says, right now, I'm just a housewife. He says, but I have a partner for you. I said, oh, you do? He says, and I think you know the person that I'm about to propose to be your partner. So I said, well, who would that be? I had no idea who he's gonna say. And he said, Al Mims. I said, yes. Yes, you can be my manager. Yes, I'll be his partner. Definitely, you know? Because I knew that I could learn a lot from him. After all those years, I still knew that there was things that I could learn from Al Mims. And I jumped at the opportunity. And he says, come down to Sandra Cameron's dance studio and we'll talk about it. I said, great. So we made an appointment. I went down there and there was Al and we hugged each other, you know. I hadn't seen him in some years. I think they had pulled him out of retirement because he had stopped dancing then. And so he says, you will have to do some rehearsing and you know, get your routine together, you know. So we said, that would be fine. He says, now I may call you and say you only have a half an hour to get down to NBC. But when I call you, you will be on TV that night. So we said, okay, and it just happened a few times. And he hooked us up with the Harlem Blues Jazz Band, and we started performing with them in different places around near Manhattan. We did things up in Westchester. We did things in like Connecticut, different places like that, close to New York. And we danced for a couple of years together. And then he got a contract for us to go to Europe. And I said, well, now I just got married for the second time. I said, now I don't know if I want to, you know, chance that with this new marriage, you know. he said, I said, well, I could go for a couple of weeks, you know. He said, well, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'm sure it's going to be more than a couple of weeks. So we had a handshake as a contract, Larry Schultz and myself, and also Al. So he says, I'll let you out of your contract, but I have to get someone else to dance with Al for him to go. I says, okay, you know, I'll let it go then, you know, I'll let it go. And that's how we stopped dancing each other. And Al went to Europe, and he took Lindy Hop over to Europe, to Huang and different places, yeah, with another girl, yeah. But it was great when we were working together. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much.
So did he. So did he.
I'm sure, yes.
Just 1 second. So the question was asked, how, say your question again. She checked it. Did she? Okay. Okay.
What was the question? What was the question?
Oh, we're getting it for you.
Oh, okay.
I was just wondering, you talked about how your relationship with your father kind of impacted your worldview. I was wondering how your relationship with your mother also impacted your relationship with Maycop, especially because of like your history of cooperation and also tension between the last few communities over the years.
So this is a question for you.
So,
Denise, could you talk about how your relationship with your mother also maybe colored or impacted your relationship with the dance or with the community at that time because of the cultural differences maybe between Black and Jewish communities at the time? Did I summarize? Thank you.
So here's my dad here's my mom with these 4 Black kids. You know, during the height of the civil rights struggle. At one point, Dad had bought a house in Queens, and you know, it was too hard. There was too much hostility directed at my mother by the white community, so they left that section of town and went to Jamaica, which is a Black section, a Black suburb of New York. And my mom was about my height, like 5 feet, and I used to describe her as this tough woman with a spine made out of steel. She didn't bend to foolishness. I remember at this time, she was working as a secretary and leaving us across the street with some neighbors to babysit us, and they were Cajun people and very fair-skinned, and when they wanted to, they could pass for white. That was their joke in the community. And so, but I told my mom one day, I didn't know there was anything wrong with it. I told her, I'm just giving you a for instance. I told her that they were giving me cough medicine to make me sleep, and that really upset my mom. So she went over there and was calling the woman out. And the woman was in the window, like above the street. And she stuck her head out and she went to say something. My mother jumped up and snatched her ass out that window. She had a spine made out of steel. She didn't take no foolishness. And another time, but my mother could sing like a bird. She would sing and play all Dad's records when he wasn't home, and she was full of love. She was the epitome of love and kindness, and like something happened one time. She eventually was living in Hell's Kitchen in New York by the theater district, and somebody did a good turn for her, and I'm like, because Hell's Kitchen is so diverse, I said, well, was it a Latino person? Was it a Black person? She's like, I didn't notice.
There you go. Yeah.
Like, she was just this loving, powerful, strong woman. At some point, her and my dad separated, and then at some point, they got back together as best friends. So they did all the holidays. If we weren't there, like I'm away in college and everybody's grown and doing it, but they were together, you know, so that when my dad went to Sweden and saw that this art that he had devoted his life to, that it looked like it was going to sustain another generation. And while it really troubled him that black youth weren't following it, I always felt it was because they didn't grow up hearing the music I was hearing. So they didn't have the relationship to the music, and therefore they didn't have the relationship to the dance. But that's not the point. The point is, when he came back from Sweden, and he was like, oh, my throat's bothering me, I don't know what's going on. And I said, well, I don't know what you could have picked up in Europe. You better go to the doctor. And he was so ecstatic about, you know, he had all these plans for how he was going to go back to Sweden and work with dancers. And he got diagnosed as having esophagus cancer. Now the cool thing was that I believe my father died with no regrets. And that's a big thing to say about your life. That you feel like you completed whatever stamp you were supposed to leave on this earth. And because of their relationship, my mother was able to very proudly sit in that front seat at his funeral as his wife. Because they never officially got divorced, because, you know, black folks don't get divorced. Black folks just move away and live with somebody else. If it costs more than a marriage license, they ain't gonna do it. Sugar, you know I'm telling the truth.
No, I got divorced.
That's because you wanted to do it again. Yeah, well, not where I lived. No, they're just like, he's going, this is my new guy. Okay, do something. But anyway, so my relationship with my mother made me the mother I am. I have 3 sons. My youngest, dance is a very big part of my family. My youngest, in his junior year, danced on Broadway in a show called The Prom. It had 7 Tony nominations. Then he came home to rest his body and booked a co-starring role in a Disney show. It's on Disney Plus. It's called Shook, where he's dancing his behind off. My other son, Kevin, who I'm expecting him here any second, he's what? Yay! He's won international awards for his choreography, as well as national and state. He has a studio in Texas, and he dances. And of course, I dance. That's how I paid my way to college. So the legacy continues. The legacy continues, and the love of the art continues.
So, unfortunately, we have to wrap this up because we have to continue with the weekend, but fortunately, we get to continue with the weekend. So, I wanted to thank all our distinguished guests for coming tonight. Denise, Sugar, Chester, thank you for coming to teach us all that there is about sort of all of your lives.
I enjoyed it.
We enjoy talking to you, and you too, Denise. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, everyone, for being here. And to commemorate this, we're saying goodbye. Everyone say goodbye. Everyone say hello. Bye.